stage in the window, surely.
Yeah, I think, look, they probably want another centre-half purely because he likes to play with a back three. You know, he's played with a back three against Spurs. He'll play with a back three against sides where he feels that he needs a bit of extra defensive cover. With Lascelles, obviously, and Lejeune, then he's lacking that cover, so he's got to play with a back four. At times, Kraft has played centre-half, and he's a full-back, so he's had to make do amend. But the likes of Miguel Almiron, huge fans' favourite on the bench. Ryan Fraser, he could turn a game. Andy Carroll, obviously, what a handful he is in the air. So, look, how much more business both these sides do, I'm not so sure. You know, Sean Dyche will not want to lose Tarkowski and get 30-40 million in the bank one day before the window shuts, because then he's in big trouble then.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Kevin Long has been and have been standing in for Tarkowski and Mia, who are pretty much a standard pair, along with Barnes and Wood at the top of the park for Burnley most of the time. But going on to Sean Dyche, they lost 1-0 at home to a Danny Ings goal against Southampton. He didn't put a substitute on because his only senior pros on the bench were both full-backs that day. The rest were, dare I say, straight out of school. It must be tough. It must be, and he's come out nothing about it. It does sort of send out signals that not everybody's singing from the same song sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. And at times he's only had 12 senior players. You know, mentioned against Brighton last season, final game, he just had the kids on the bench. You know, that was it. It is difficult for him, but he's probably at a club where he's a totalitarian. He can basically decide what happens. You know, would he get that at Villa? Would he get that at West Ham? Not so sure. Maybe at West Ham he might. Director of football's gone, but certainly he's got a lot of authority and power at Burnley, which he might not get elsewhere. And maybe that's what's keeping him there.
Am I wrong in saying that Burnley can come under the workman like Dower grinding out results sort of pattern of play?
Yes, I think so. Obviously, there's ways to win a game of football and stay in the Premier League, and you'd have to say that, you know, how Sean Dyche has done it has been brilliant. They've never really looked like being in threat. At times last season, they were obviously in a horrific run of form. Playing Europa League football was a disaster for them. I think they'll be happy punching anywhere mid-table upwards. For them would be an absolute phenomenal achievement.
Do you think it would be a real dilemma for Sean Dyche if his chairman turned round to him at the start of a window and said 75 million to go and spend on it? Would he change his style of play?
He might do, but I think he would. I think you'll be able to trust him that he'd spend it very, very wisely. I think he has done that. You've got to remember, he's had 400 games as a manager the other day, wasn't it, against Southampton? Quite incredible, and you know, he's done a great job, and no one can doubt that.
Well, Steve Bruce and Sean Dyche will be going head-to-head in a few moments' time. But for now, let's hear what the managers had to say before this match.
The one thing you know what is coming against Burnley, physically, we have to match them. You know, they'll play into your strikers. They've never changed over the years. That's their identity and their philosophy, and that's the way Dyche set them up so fantastically well over the last few years. So I've got the hugest respect for Sean and what he's done, and we have to be ready for that challenge tomorrow, and we will be. I'm convinced of that. We will be, and it gives us a chance.
I think as a fella, not just as a manager, got a lot of time and respect for him, and his teams are always in good shape. They're always in good tactical understanding. So I expect it to be a tough game. You know, we're still stretched ourselves, but we're beginning to show signs of getting bodies back, which is good for us. I think they've had a couple of knocks as well. But no, it's never an easy place to go up to, regardless of fans or no fans.
It has been very intense after, you know, no real pre-season as such. It's all been strange and difficult times because usually we're creatures of habit. But we've been dealt a different card, this different hand. So we have to try and be flexible and adapt to it as best we can.
I'm always open-minded about what can happen in a game of football. The main thing for me is, you know, refocusing the group, getting ready for the next game. We've got a couple of bodies coming back fit, so that'll be a focus as well to make sure we can have the strongest group we can take there, and then delivering a performance. I speak to the players a lot about that. If we get the performance right, it increases your chances of winning.
Well, don't touch that dial. It is Newcastle versus Burnley coming up. Chelsea 4, Palace 0 earlier on today. Everton 4, Brighton 2. And Leeds United 1, Manchester City 1. David Connolly's alongside me. David, Chelsea getting a good win. They needed it.
Yes, they did. I mean, good response. Obviously, 4 goals. Clean sheet, I think, certainly would have pleased Frank. You know, they've conceded an awful lot of goals, haven't they, if you think about it, even last season. And if you remember, they ended with such an intense programme. You know, even before they played Bayern, they had like 7 really intense games just to try and get in that Champions League. And, you know, it still looks like there was a bit of a hangover from last season. Expensively assembled squad now. They've certainly, you know, that money is not burning a hole in anyone's pocket. They are splashing the cash. What's that, 200 million plus, I think they've spent now? Quite incredible, but, you know, got a good result today.
That's just changed you, David.
Yes,
I know what you top flight players were on. You know, I'm just in awe of the size of your wallet that you're perched on in this commentary box. What about Everton? 4 wins out of 4. Going well.
Yes, I mean, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, they've got the striker of the moment in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, second hat-trick. He's got, what's he got, 8-9 already? Quite incredible. Brilliant to see Everton at the top of the Premier League. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, you know, sort of 87, I was nine, 10, 11, watching, you know, football on TV, FA Cup final, but always be Everton, Liverpool, you know, those two battling around the top, and it's certainly great for Merseyside, that's for sure.
It is terrific. And then Leeds United had a purple patch against Manchester City in the second half and could well have taken the points against Manchester City. Great for Bielsa, but has Pep got problems?
Well, I think he's sort of, they're stuttering, you know, they are losing ground. You know, hard, I think, for Diaz on his first game, obviously going in against Leeds, and change for anyone, which is what we hoped would happen. We all knew Leeds were going to add to the Premier League. I think it's only United fans who didn't actually want them in there. But for everyone else, it's brilliant, and they've certainly added to it. Great performance against Liverpool. They've shown they can go toe-to-toe with the very best.
And Sunday tomorrow, 2 games at midday. I'm not even going to talk about the first one, but Southampton are playing West Brom at midday. There's another one I'll talk about in just a moment. 2 p.m, 2 more games. Arsenal hosting Sheffield United. Wolves entertaining Fulham. And at 4:30, it's Manchester United and Tottenham going head-to-head at Old Trafford. And rounding up the action on Sunday, Aston Villa will get ready for the visit of the champions Liverpool at 7:15. But the other game at midday... Uh-oh, David, here comes a bus and I'm about to throw you under it because you play for both these sides. Who are you rooting for between, of course, Leicester and West Ham?
Well, it's not that I'm rooting for either, but obviously the form that Leicester are in, I mean, they put 5 past City and they've looked electric. Harvey Barnes is absolutely brilliant. We all know about Jamie Vardy. Castagna's slotted in superbly. I've got to be honest and say my money's on Leicester. Look, in the Cup, they played Declan Rice at centre-half, and he was absolutely destroyed by Calvert-Lewin. But he'll go back to midfield, but I still think that Leicester are going to have too much.
Have you got... I know we're on worldwide radio, and nobody else is listening. It's just me and you. Have you got a side that you have a penchant for, that you look for, that first result?
No, I wouldn't necessarily have got one I look for, but certainly, you know, maybe my affinity here might be a little bit closer to West Ham, but you know, putting that to one side, I just think that with the way Leicester are, my money's on Leicester here.
I can see why you are a bona fide professional there. You wriggled like a politician on the end of a hook. Nicely done. Well, you know, this game's looming just very, very much in the pouring rain up here at St James's Park. And if you know, there's no fans in, we know that. I was a fan up at St James's Park last year, and I don't know if you've ever been to the away part of the ground up there, but people, when you get up the stairs, are wrapping you in like tinfoil after you've done the marathon, because there's so many steps up there.
You get vertigo up there. It's absolutely, you're in the gods, aren't you, at the top?
You really are in the gods up there. It's a long way up. Any good memories of St James's Park?
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrific... I had 2 of my kids born in the northeast, you know, obviously playing at Sunderland, living in Durham. So I thought it was a lovely place. Didn't even know it had a beach. You know, there I was going down Sunderland Beach. My dog's swimming out. I thought she was going to drown. Didn't even know Sunderland had a beach in those days. So shows you how well travelled I was. But I love the North East, and it's a trillion. Love their football. And if you love your football, it's a great place to go and play your football.
Absolutely. Worshipped you can be up in the North East, that's for sure. But it's a tough place if you're a manager. Just ask lucky Steve Bruce. Next up, the first half of Newcastle United versus Burnley. This is Premier League Live. Coverage of Newcastle United versus Burnley here from St James's Park. I'm your host, Andrew Self. Alongside me is former West Ham, Leicester and Republic of Ireland striker David Connolly. This is Premier League Live. Let's run through the two sides for you. Newcastle United in goal, Carl Darlow, a back four of Jamal Lewis, Federico Fernandez, Fabian Schär and Emil Kraft at right back. Then it's a four. Alan Saint-Maximin comes back on the left. Isaac Hayden and John Joe Shelby, your engine room. Jeff Hendrick out on the right. Then it's Joe Linton just off Callum Wilson at the top of the park. And for Burnley in goal, Nick Pope. Right to left, their back four is Phil Bardsley, James Tarkowski, Kevin Long and Charlie Taylor. They have four across the middle of the park, right to left. Josh Brownhill, Ashley Westwood, Dale Stevens and Dwight McNeil. And the old Warhorse, seasoned veteran that he is, Ashley Barnes, 9 months out, comes back to join us, Chris Wood. Those two have scored the most goals for Burnley in the Premier League, 38 and 36 respectively. David Connolly, tell me what you're expecting.
Well, I think it's going to be a great game. Both sides look like they're going to play two up top. We'll have to see for Newcastle because we know Joelinton can play wide, Saint-Maximin too. But I think it's going to be full of blood and guts. A typical British, I guess, game of two sides that are really going for it. You know, two British managers, and sort of not very often you can say that.
It's sort of disguised at the end of what has been a pretty phenomenal day yet again on Premier League Live. This has got the makings of being one of those that you can almost transcend, go back a few years and say this is as you say, blood and guts.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you know, we've had goals galore since, you know, the season got started, which has been great for the Premier League. I don't think, I'm not even sure, I can't recall, but you know, I don't think this one will be.
Well done, mate. Thanks. Just get the old 0-0 one in there. Commentator's curse, that's called, Dave.
Yeah. Let me go and check. I don't think there's been a 0-0 yet. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, there we are. Anybody out there listening, get in touch with us at TalkSport Live, and you can indeed get in touch with Mr. David Connolly as the players take their knee out on the pitch, and of course myself at Selfie86, at TalkSport Live, at Selfie86, at Mr. David Connolly if you've got a question for us. In the first half, Newcastle United will be playing from right to left here at St James's Park. Our position is above the technical areas, and just as the cameras would show you on your television, have you ever seen it? Newcastle attacking from right to left, and it's cleared on this near side by Bardsley and picked up by the left back Jamal Lewis midway inside the half of Newcastle. And he goes back to Hayden. Hayden goes all the way back to Federico Fernandez, and Fernandez is squared to Fabian Sharp. Just exchange passes on the now gets it left hand side, 3 yards in from this left touchline. Elects to go back inside to Fernandez, who has made his way back into his own penalty area. Square to the right side to Shah, who clips one up towards Joe Linton, who brings it down on his chest before just stabbing the ball back some 10 yards to Shelvey. Shelvey square to Lewis. Lewis to Alan Saint-Maximin just before the halfway line. Cuts in field. Brownhill tracks him. He's going along the halfway line before dropping it back to Hayden. Hayden takes a touch and opens his body up, looks to his right and finds Shah. Shah to Kraft down the line, but it's lost, and now it's the first chance for Dwight McNeil. Impressive young man, until I say that moment and he runs and looks at the touchline and puts it out. That's good, wasn't it, really?
Commentator's curse, Andrew. I did have a look, and there hasn't been a 0-0 since we restarted, so there we go. I mean, just looking at Newcastle, very patient, aren't they, with their play in their own half. Confident start here, obviously putting that performance against Newport to one side where they weren't particularly good, but very, very good so far.
They could be in the they are in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, and if they were to get themselves 3 points today, could be sat handily going into the international break, so it wouldn't be that bad considering Steve Bruce is taking in the local media.
And look, and one thing you want, Andrew, when you have that 2 week break, you want to end on a good performance. Like, you know, as players, you're in it for, you know, 2 weeks, getting there in the ear hole from your manager.
Yeah, but I'm glad you had that, because you know, we don't know what happens. You know, people like me, I just like catchphrase, say what I see, and it's a free kick to Burnley. And Burnley bring a line just outside the Newcastle penalty area. It's going to be taken. Standing over it is McNeil and Westwood. Westwood addresses the ball. Diagonal ball, looking for Tarkowski, who gets a little bit on it. It's into Newcastle box. Good header away there by Hayden. Hooked away from their own penalty area by Hendrick, the former Burnley man. In a way, I suppose, he's quite happy that there's no Burnley fans here to give him the bird, as Emil Kraft runs down that far touchline. Plays it down the line. Hendrick doesn't control it, and it's easy in the end for the midfield to lay the ball back to Nick Pope, who plays it out. This time McNeil can't keep it in play. A little bit of a tough start. Momentum's always key, and one lost 3-0 in the Carabao Cup. That was Manchester City turning over Burnley, and they have had an absolute horror time with injuries. Nice to see Goodmanson back on the bench and a few other players. But, Newcastle United just creeping over the line against Newport County, but managers will tell you it doesn't matter. At the end, it's all about the result, as the rain absolutely pours down.
Well, this way you've got to take real care with the ball. We can see Burnley a couple of times have gone back to their goalkeeper. We've done it again here, and at times Pope doesn't probably want it.
In fact, he's almost... Well, that's the closest it's come, because as he has tried to play that ball out, Callum Wilson has sprinted across from Pope. left-hand side and blocked the clearance from close quarters, and it's bounced up in the air and just wide of an empty Burnley net. That was a very, very close thing, and you were just saying, don't play it back. Although these surfaces aren't quite the Hackney Marshes or your local rec pitch, they should zip more than stick, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a wrong decision again from Burnley going back, and that really hard. Really creates an opening. Saw that against West Ham. You know, he just worked tirelessly, and what happened in the end? He got attacker. You know, you make your own luck. That's what I like about Callum Wilson.
Absolutely. Nick Pope there, whose position may have been a little bit more strengthened for the minor aberration again today, but there we are. Throw to Burnley. Charlie Taylor has the ball midway inside the Newcastle half. Throws deep into the corner. Emil Kraft gets an acrobatic bring down on the ball, but under pressure from Barnes puts it out for another Burnley throw, and Dwight McNeil will garner a few more yards forward. Barnes back after 9 months of being out, a hernia operation that had complications. Burnley retain the ball, and now McNeil goes back to the halfway line, plays it to Tarkowski, who clips one up towards Barnes, who gets a chest on it, but it's cleared by Shell. Joe Linton on the halfway line. He plays it out to the right now, breaking forward. It's Wilson, looks for Joe Linton's run. His run is tracked by Kevin Long. He spins by the corner of the penalty box of Burnley. Far side now. Hendrick tries to slip in the run of Hayden. Dead ball line. Tries to get a cross in. Blocked by the legs in front of him of a Burnley defender, and goes away for the first corner of the game. A little bit of tempo there from Newcastle, and Burnley looked a little bit static at the back, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, good first little bit spell in possession there for Newcastle, you know, building their way into the Burnley half. A corner is pretty good outcome, actually, for Newcastle. They've got good height at the back, obviously Joelinton, Fernandes, etc. And what they have is got really good delivery from Shelvey.
Pope looks out of the goal away to my left, out to his left-hand side. Shelvey curls it towards penalty spot. Taylor heads it away, flicks off his head. Jamal Lewis for Newcastle picks it up, plays it out to Fabian Schär. He crosses it back in. Tarkowski with a big towering header away. Can Burnley get onto loose ball? They can. They get there with Ashley Barnes, who's got the Newcastle back three backpedaling. He plays it left to Dwight McNeil, who's bearing down on his old teammate Jeff Hendrick. Drills a shot in, it's low and just a touch going down to his left-hand side by Darlow, and it's corner at the other end. Quick break and nicely played by Burnley.
Yeah, just ball pops out to Barnes in around the halfway line. He knows he doesn't really have the pace to attack that Newcastle back line, so shifts it out, shovels it out to McNeil on the left. He just attacks wide. He actually, his first touch takes him too wide, and he just tries to sort of have a cross-come shot. I don't think he was ever really going in, and Darlow just tipped around the post.
Darlow tips it around. 12 saves now in his last two games. 11 at Spurs last week, and now another one today. Goal! It's a corner this time for Burnley. And they swing it in. Darlow can't see it. It's high. Tarkowski gets a header on it, but it's straight to the pink-clad Darlow. That's a nice cerise pink kit. There's a Newcastle player down. Tarkowski got that header on target. He's made his way back up, and Darlow bowls it out underarm to Lewis. Lewis finds Shelvey. Shelvey finds Joelinton just about on the lip of the centre circle on the Newcastle side as Newcastle attack the goal away to my left-hand side. Hendrick cuts in from that far touchline, back inside to Joelinton. His first touch is a little tough.
I mean, what is he doing there, though, Andrew? I mean, he's a centre forward, and he's actually in the centre circle, just killing John Joe Shelvey's space. I think he's got to get out of there. You know, he's not really going to affect the game there.
Well, the idea is a 4-4-1-1, isn't it? And as we spoke before the game, you feel that's maybe just to give a little bit of cover when Sir Maximin doesn't track back. He does have a habit of doing that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is what happens, though, you're just attracting players around Shelvey, and what Shelvey needs, he needs space. That's where he does his damage. You can get his head up, work an opening, and put somebody in. If you're on top of him like Joelinton is, killing his room, there's nowhere really for him to go.
Connolly there. Explained in the technical side, which is I would have just had a fleeing ear of Joelinton and said, look, off you go. But David does it better than United. Crossfield ball from Kraft, looking for St Maximin. No, it's Joe Linton that gets it down. Leaves it from St Maximin back to Lewis. Lewis again rolls it back to Fernandez. Interestingly enough, you just picked out Shelvey. There were 3 Burnley players converging on it.
Exactly, because you know why? He's the quarterback. He's the one that will make him tick and pick a pass. You know, you look at his ball last season against Liverpool. I think it was to Dwight Gale after about 20 seconds. Absolutely outstanding. And his goal against Newport too.
Brownhill's driving forward for Burnley. Little out to McNeil. McNeil got a crowd of black and white shirts around him. Lays it out to the left back, Charlie Taylor. Taylor, 24 yards from the dead ball. Lots of pushing and a shoving going on. And Ashley Barnes turns around and says, "Ref, there must have been something there because I was looking at the penalty spot rather than the ball because I was being pushed." But the referee, who today is David Coop, assisted by Lee Betts and Nick Hopton, fourth official Martin Atkinson of VAR, is in the safe hands. I shouldn't say that, really. But that ball has gone over the top and away for a goal kick to Newcastle United. Where are you with the handball rule?
Well, I don't think get me started on the handball rule. I mean, just there, you saw Ashley Barnes gave the motion of push. I mean, it was a drilled delivery from Charlie Taylor to the back post, and Barnes was just caught under it. No one following in, no one sweeping up, and sort of Taylor shakes his head as if to say, you know, why do we not have enough players in the box? That's what, get the ball wide, get it in the box. They need numbers in there.
Well, those 2 up front of Wood and Barnes rekindle a partnership that served them very, very well in Premier League level. Maybe not the fastest, but they certainly are a battering ram. But it's a maximised ball there through the legs of Brown. Neil finds Hendrick. Hendrick goes out far side to Kraft. Kraft midway inside the Burnley half. 3 yards in from that right touchline, goes back infield to Shelvey, who just clips a little sand wedge out to Jamal. Lewis, one touch down the line to someone turned around now by Barsley. Back down the line it goes. The Norwich man, the former Norwich man, Jamal Lewis, 3 yards from the dead ball line is flag for offside. But a good recruit, Jamal Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few Norwich players, isn't there, that were coveted when they got relegated. Obviously, Max Aarons, you know, linked with the likes of Bayern Munich, etc. Ben Godfrey just gone to Everton. Certainly, some of their defenders were, you know, they're sort of jewel in the crown, but they conceded so many goals. It's hard to see why they're valued so highly. But I got to say, I like Jamal Lewis. I think he's been a good signing.
Do you know what? Actually, had a little look around, and Norwich City, I fear, are a bit like the silent partner in a game of Monopoly. They've gone around accumulating money with the Murphy brothers. Nathan Redmond, they've been picking up 12s and 15 millions all over the place.
Yeah,
there we go. That's how to do your business. But the trouble is, you yo-yo from division to division.
The thing is, Norwich are happy with that. A top 24 club, and you know what? I'll make them right. I think that's fine as well, because one thing you can't do is risk your club's future. So they nearly got burned last time they were in the Premier League, and I think they've learned from it, which is key.
Absolutely. Crossfield ball. McNeil tries to cut it out. Does flick it over the head of Kraft. It's going to be a throw to Newcastle United. 11 minutes gone. Newcastle 0, Burnley 0 here on Premier League Live. Emil Kraft will get a clean football. Has to jog about 15 yards further forward, right back. He is now going to look to get the wheels in motion for Newcastle United. A little look, gives the eyes to players, and then goes down the line to Hendrick. Hendrick sees the ball bounce and then just towed away by Dwight. McNeil now level with the 18-yard box, sees a throw from Newcastle who go in. They work it well in the corner. A little bit of a back heel from Hendrick, doesn't work out, and Burnley do well. They get it up to Barnes, who does a nice bit of play, and in the end, as they break into the middle of the park, Hayden just stops the game, sliding in from the side. And the referee, David Coote, who I've got a very interesting story to tell about. One day about a certain fast food restaurant and a Blue Square Premier semi-final first leg. Yeah, quite interesting. But there we go, that's another story. Crossfield ball from Burnley, picks out Ashley Barnes, who brings it down, face hit by Fernandes, goes through the challenge of Jamal Lewis and the